We are all treaty people. And I think it was last week I mentioned to Lex, or maybe Tom, that we are all treaty people can also be said as we are all covenant people. Treaty is a new word for us as the church, but covenant is an old word that goes way back into the history of Israel. And covenant and treaty mean the same thing. It means we are in an agreement together. We live one life together. All of us are in it. All of us have opportunity to serve each other. Now, I wanted to begin this morning by remembering how it is that Europe, several centuries ago, generated a set of ideas. And that set of ideas was that we, as human beings, were going to become masters of the earth and make of it what we wanted. And the interesting thing about that idea is that it spread to all of the continents. And wherever that idea encountered indigenous people, that idea determined to suppress them and to eliminate them and to get rid of them because they belonged to nature and we were seeking something better than nature. Now, at this point in time, we can see fairly clearly how our history has brought us to a place of great concern. The planet is basically being ruined by the idea we brought here. The water is being spoiled. The air is being polluted. Everywhere we look, there is conflict, while manufacturers of military machinery make billions and billions of dollars. It is possible that now we need to look at ourselves and say, perhaps we've been going the wrong way. And if we have been going the wrong way, the question arises, what is the right way? And I would like to suggest to you that if we as Western civilized people would look back on the history of indigenous people on all continents, we might discover for ourselves a way of life that will bring us healing and renewal. You see, the indigenous way of life was not like our way of life. Our way of life in the Western social economy is basically centered on me. The Beatles said one time, I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine, all through the day, all through the night, I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine. And they had it right. Our civilization is preoccupied with the individual, and that's our problem. Indigenous cultures were centered on the people. The people of the past were honored in stories and ceremonies. The people of the present were respected. The people of the future were honored. And the key insight that we gain from indigenous people all over the world is that it was never about I. It was always about us. And in a remarkable way, the indigenous sensibility is exactly what Jesus taught. Jesus taught that it was not about self-reliance, self-sufficiency, self-service. Jesus taught that it was all about loving God and loving your neighbor. And of course the question arises, who is my neighbor? And my neighbor is anybody who I encounter along the way. So we have this possibility of recognizing that we came from Europe with a great error in our pockets, and that error is now bringing us to a destructive place, and we have opportunity for healing. And that healing comes when we remember that we are called to be members of one body, what is called the body of Christ. And that one body has one task, and that task is to care for our fellow human beings and to care for the environment in which we live. That's the nutshell teaching of all indigenous people. Isaiah tells a story about going out and doing his best to be a servant of God, doing his best to make the way of God plain for people to see. And then into the text he gets to the point where he realizes that the people of power are not at all interested in what he is offering them. And he feels like, why am I bothering? And then Isaiah recognizes he is bothering because God has called him, and God is the reward for his efforts. Not success in the world, but faithfulness to God by living a life of service in the hope of restoring humanity to its true nature, the nature that God created in the beginning. The psalm is about a person who is not sure what's going on, who feels lost in the world. And that is the case for so many people in our world right now. So many people are wondering, what's going on? Where is it all going to end? Oh God, some of them pray, help us. Help us find our way forward confidently. And then the psalm goes on to say that God answered the psalmist's prayer, and that life is changed, and that life has become good, life has become meaningful. And this through serving God. And the service of God is not about religion. The psalmist says it's not about offerings, it's not about ceremonies, it's not about sacrifices. And he's speaking about in the temples of the old tradition in Israel, where to get your sins forgiven, you had to pay money to buy a goose or a lamb or an ox, and that ox was killed and the blood was poured out, and that blood made God happy. The psalm says that's not the case. God is not made happy by blood sacrifice. God is made happy by human being entering into a life of service, a life of caring for others, a life of caring for our environment. The psalmist makes it plain that God is the satisfaction of our souls. And then we go on to the book of Acts. And in the book of Acts, the Apostle Paul is speaking about what it is that Jesus came to do. And Jesus did not come to do it all. Jesus came to inspire a people, inspire men, inspire women, inspire all kinds of human beings, and inspiring them to live a life of service. And Jesus did not teach this by speaking words alone. Jesus taught this by speaking and demonstrating what he meant by his actions. We are people called to fellowship with the Holy Spirit of God. That is to say, we are called to be in connection, not just with our little part of the world, but with the great big universe which was created by God. And every part has a part to play. Sorry, sometimes I don't get the language quite right. Every part has a part to play. The moon and the sun are so important to us. They are members of our body. The stars, the air, the water, the trees, the animals, they are part of who we are. We belong to them. We belong to God's creation, but we've become separated. And Jesus has come into the earth to bring us back, to say, come on, don't go in that way that is leading to destruction. Turn around and go in the way that leads to life. And Jesus gives himself as the example. Jesus is the one who says, I am not among you as a high and holy person. I'm among you as a plain, ordinary human being doing good for my neighbor. I am hoping that at this time in the earth, more and more people are beginning to realize that doing things for others is better than doing things for ourselves. And the key to this is, if you are working for others and others are working for you, you are being blessed by the community in which you live. We are all in it together. There is one life in us all, and that's the life of God. Let's celebrate it, not by all kinds of ritual. Let's celebrate it by being good people, doing good to others. May God make it so, and may our world be healed.